Hello, 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 everyone. I am Delaney Jones, and I would like to welcome you back to Heart Flow. Yes, to Heart Flow. We are going to start off on the second part of our series. For those of you that have been following, then you all know where we're going. But for those of you who have not been following, then I want to let you all know that we are using the Neverending Story. It's a movie. And we're going to use it as a point of reference in order to bring relevant issues to our minds and help us apply them into our regular everyday lives. We're going to go ahead and jump right into this. On last week, we discussed the main character, who is Bastian. And in the movie, he has just experienced a loss of his mother, his mentor, his nurturer. Just as we sometimes have to be separated from our mentors and the people that planted seeds in us and encouraged our dreams. So with those dreams being placed in the ground, we will meet people that we consider dream dimmers. I believe is what we call them, dream dimmers. And those are the people who we respect, but unknowingly they end up casting a shade upon what was planted, just trying to cover it and trying to protect it and shield it from hurt. They don't realize that by them covering it and them trying to shield it from the rain, it keeps us from growing and it keeps the sunshine from the sun from shining on us so that we can blossom. So we also met people who want our goods and our giftings, and our talents. And when they feel that we cannot be of any use to them, or that we don't have anything to offer them, they throw us away as if we don't mean anything, or that as if we're trash. It is during that time that we must remain encouraged and not allow ourselves to get depressed or anything like that. And we just continue running on towards the dream that's inside of us. So that is a recap from part one, and it brings us to part two. So in part two, we know that Bastian has just ran from the bullies, and he ducked off into a bookstore. And he doesn't realize where he's at, but he ducks off into a bookstore. And then when he turns and realizes that he's in a bookstore, he walks in a little bit further, and even without looking and without hearing his voice, the bookstore owner starts to dismiss him, because he was like, "What are you doing in here?" And he said, "Well, I was just," and he said, "Boy, get out of here." And he told him, he said, "We don't sell comics books here. We only sell real books here." And at that point, Bastian got and felt insulted. He was like, "What do you mean? I read regular books," And so sometimes in our lives, we're like Bastian, and we're insulted because someone just automatically assumed, just because I'm a young person, or I'm a boy, or I'm a young girl, that I may not live up to the expectations of what a bookstore may bring, if it doesn't bring any comic books or anything that is picture books, with real books there. And so I'm being discounted. And I think that there's also a person in the Bible that was discounted as well, just like that. And it's David. And when David was getting ready to fight Goliath, he was discounted because of the way he looked and because of his stature. And on this journey, we're going to meet people that are going to be established in the world. They're going to be business owners. They're going to own consulting agencies. They're going to own all these things that we may need some information from. But I want you all to not shrink down in that moment. Don't allow yourself to be discouraged, but take courage. Take courage and do the same thing that Bastian and David did. Whenever they got ready to start telling them, "Oh, well, you don't do this, and we don't sell that here," and just thinking that since you're a boy or since you're young, that you don't read, Bastian began to give him his resume. He told him, he says, as a matter of fact, I do read. I have 186 books at home. You know, and he says that I have Treasure Island, I have The Last of the Mohicans, I have Tarzan, I have 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, you know, I have Lord of the Rings, The Wizard of Oz, you know, and he starts reading out off his resume. You know, it's the same thing David had to do. David had to say, you know what, I fought a lion and I fought a bear, you know, while I was tending sheep. So don't tell me what I can't do. This uncircumcised Philistine, I'm going to have his head. So some people are going to discount you when they see you. And just like they had to read off their resume, I don't want you to be insulted to read off your resume. Because we never know who they are and we never know who they know. You know, and sometimes people that may have heard about us, but they really don't know who we are. And when you start giving them your resume, they'll be like, oh yeah, I did hear about that. So don't be afraid to tell somebody, you know what, I've put out 5 albums. Don't be afraid to tell them that I've been a realtor for years and I've sold $1 million listings. Don't be afraid to say that I have books in there in public and state libraries all around the country. You know, don't be afraid to tell them who you are. It's not bragging at all. It's not bragging. It's just that sometimes you have to get a who gonna check me, boo type of mentality and be like, hey, you know what? I know who I am and this is who I am. So take that. You know, you never know if those people are going to be the ones that's going to have information to push you to the next level. So after Sebastian reads off his resume and lets him know how many books he's written, the store owner at that point, he's intrigued. You know, his interest is piqued. And he tells him, he says, you know what? Yeah, you may have those books, but you're not ready to read the books that I have in here. And at that point, Sebastian spots this book on the table, which is called The Neverending Story. And he asks him, he says, well, what is it about that book, you know, that I'm not ready for? And he says, well, this isn't an ordinary book. You know, once you read this book and you discover the contents in this book, you'll never be the same. You'll never be able to walk around in the world as you have before. You'll never, ever look at yourself as the same. You'll never, ever be the same. And so at that point, his interest went through the roof and he was like, his eyes got big. He got excited and he was like, okay, the phone rung. So when the phone rung, the bookstore owner goes and answers the phone. And Sebastian swipes the book and takes off running. So he's running out the door. The book owner looks out and sees him running and he gives this little smile. Almost like, I just had to test you to see who you are. You know, I know that you're going to do great with this book, but I just wanted to see if you know that you were going to do great with this book. So he looks over at the table just to make sure that what he's thinking is really what's going on. And he sees that the book is gone and there's a note sitting there. And the note says that I will return your book soon. You know, and there's going to be somebody that you're going to meet and they're going to discover who you are, you know, even before you know who you are. And when they do that, I want you to take the information that they bring to you. Don't discard it or don't be so upset and so mad that you can't even see past what they asked you. As you walk away, know that they're going to be smiling. And I want you to remember and do the same thing that Sebastian did in this movie. You know, he told him, he says, I'll return your book soon. You know, and we have returns that you may not be able to give them their information back, but you can pay it forward. You know, giving somebody, taking information from somebody and using it as well as distributing it, the information, and causing somebody to grow because of something that they have sold into your life or into this world is the greatest accomplishment for anyone. So, you know, invest in someone else, help them, as you gain knowledge, then help them gain knowledge, you know, and that way you'll be returning what you got from them. In the next scene, we see Sebastian, who is walking to school and classes already started. And so he peeks in the window of the classroom and he sees everybody sitting there and he's like, oh, math test. So when he looked in the window, I noticed something. I noticed that all the kids were seated and there was one empty seat. And this empty seat was on the front row. And it is the assumption that that seat is Sebastian's seat. So instead of going into the classroom, he bolts up the staircase and goes up to the attic. He tries to open the door and the knob wouldn't open. So he looks up and he grabs the key. And then he grabs the key, he sticks it in the door, opens the door, goes inside. And then he realizes I left the key outside. So he opens the door, grabs the key out, and then he closes the door. Now, the way that this door is set up, when it closes, it's locked. So that means nobody else can get in this door of where he's going. You know, and some of us are going to end up in situations like this. You're going to walk up to the place where you're really supposed to be, and you're actually supposed to be in this position, but you're not prepared for that position. Because see, if we remember in the first part, when we talked about Sebastian taking a math test, his father fussed at him because he said that he was struggling in math and that he needed to pay more attention, you know, in class. And so this is the subject that he struggled with. This is something that is a weak point for him. And some of us are going to end up entering into a place that we have the windows wide open and we know that we belong there, but we're not prepared yet. You know, we're struggling in one area of another. It may be communication. It may be writing. It may be vocal ability. It may be being in front of a camera. Whatever it is that you're struggling with that prevents you from going ahead and moving in to the area and sitting into your place, because that empty seat was already there and it was made just for him. Because if it wasn't just for him, somebody else would have been sitting in his seat, but that seat was waiting just for him. But so because he knew and he had foreknowledge that that wasn't his forte, he leaves, bolts up the staircase, and he goes into the attic. Well, it was something about when he bolted up to that staircase, it made me think about elevation. And sometimes when you're not ready, then you have to go to a place that you can be elevated. That means you have to find something that's higher than you so that you can get into a position to where you will be ready. And some of us are going to find ourselves at an attic door, you know, and that door is going to be the key to us getting into position, you know. And I think that that attic, because it's in a higher position, it's really ironic that that's where he chose to go. He didn't go to a basement, but instead he went to an attic. So he didn't go back, but he went forward. He went upward. And so when you think about going upward in your life, especially when you're facing your dreams and you have these things that you know that you have weaknesses on, then that is the time when we must go to a place and we must pray. You know, we have keys to get to God. And in those keys, you know, we have prayer, we have fasting, and all of those things open up a gateway to where we can actually get to him and we can access God, you know, and we can take the knowledge that Sebastian did when he went into the attic, because the attic was abandoned. Nobody was there. You know, it looked like nobody had been there in years. It was dust everywhere. You know, stuff was put away, but it was still just dust everywhere. And there is a place that you need to be in. There's an isolation place. There is a place that is secluded, you know, that we need to go to God, dealing with our dreams and dealing with our fears and dealing with our struggles, you know, to make sure that, hey, I may be discouraged, God, but I'm still need to be destiny bound. So I need you to help me get past the point of being discounted. You know, help me get past the inner struggles that I have. You know, with me personally, you know, I struggle with communication, you know, and with my thing is this: if somebody tells me something, then I'm gone with it, because to me, life is black and white. I really don't have a gray area. So a lot of times I have to go to God and ask him, you know, to help me with the gray area, help me find those areas where somebody may say something, but they're not like me. So they're not going to give me a definite answer right away. So I have to make sure that I always double check myself and that I'm always confirming things, and that is a weak point of mine. And I'm constantly working on it, and I've been asking God to help me fast more and help me pray more, so that is not an area of weakness, because some things is not demonic in life. Some things are just habit. Some things can just be changed based on our will and our want, and we can ask God for strength to do those things, So where am I at? I'm at 15 minutes. I want you to make sure that when you enter into those areas, that there are no interruptions. Whenever you take those opportunities of seclusion and you go to a higher place, whether it is an attic, in the Bible, the woman set a place for the man of God to go in one of her upper rooms. So sometimes you may have to find that place to go in that upper room, whether it is a closet, whether it is upstairs where nobody is, whether it is your car, whatever place that you take to elevate yourself to, so that you can be like, you know what, God, this is me and you. This is my mountaintop, and I'm waiting for your glory to come down and fall. So when your glory comes down and it falls, then you want to be in a position where your phone isn't ringing, where the television isn't on, where even the kids are not screaming your name. So you may have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning when everybody's asleep. Or you may have to wait until 11 or 12 o'clock at night when the house is quiet. But I want to encourage you to get in that place, because we already know that when the cell phone begins to ring, and even if we put it on vibrate, we're going to hear it, and then our mind is not going to be on God. Our mind's going to go on, who is that texting me right now? Who is that calling? I was waiting for a phone call. So immediately, that's where your mind is going to go. So I encourage you to get in a quiet place, get in a seclusion place, make sure there's no interruptions, and make sure that you can just spend some time with God and God alone. This is actually all that I have for today. I pray that something was said to help encourage you and help you get through your week. Make sure that you share with your friends, share with your family, even share with your enemies, because that seat that's sitting right there, that's open just for you, that nobody else is going to be able to take. You want them to get a front row seat into watching you move up into your destiny and watching you move into the place where God has for you. This story right here is never ending. Your dreams that you have are never ending, but my time is ending. So I will see you guys next week. Always remember to guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it will spring the issues of life. Don't be afraid to dream. Don't be afraid to go for your goals. Work on your struggles. Work on you. Work on your fears. And remember to fast and pray about everything. This is all I have for today. I am Delana Jones, and this has been High Flow. See you later.